Good morning. I got my flannel shirt on this morning because it's a little nippy out here, but that's to be expected because it's that most wonderful time of the year. Happy Thursday. Thankful Thursday. That's what my little sign says on my door. Thankful. And I am thankful this morning. I think it says thankful. Yeah. I was reading it backwards, so I wasn't really sure. Yeah, thankful. So this is Thankful Thursday. Welcome to my back porch. That coffee is perfect this morning. Well, I want to share with you real quickly a thought that I don't even know where I'm going with all the way, but we're going to see where it goes. I was reading this last night before I went to sleep, and I woke up this morning and it was on my mind, and so I began reading it again. And it's the story of David, and there was a civil war. When we say civil, it's not really very civil, but it was right between, when America fought the Civil War, it was right here on our own land between our own people. It wasn't with a foreign ally, it was our own people. And so David basically was fighting a civil war, and the sad part was the leader of the other side was his son. You see, that's what we saw in America during the Civil War. Brother against brother, father against son. Oh wow. It was just heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to read the accounts of families divided right here in America in the midst of our Civil War. Well, it's just as heartbreaking to go back in the Bible and read in the Bible the Civil War that took place between David and Absalom, his son. They were both leading armies, and Absalom was determined in his heart to overthrow his father from the throne and become king. He had such aspiration and such a desire to be the king that he was willing to go to war against his own father. And David was at war because he was defending the throne, even though it was against his own son. I want to read a few verses in 2 Samuel chapter 18 and then go into verse 19. So we're going to read a little bit more today than we usually do. And so here we are in 2 Samuel 18 and begin with verse 24. Here the war's been going on, the fighting's been going on, and David sat between the two gates. And the watchman went up to the roof over the gate under the wall, and lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, a man running alone. And the watchman cried and told the king. And the king said, if he be alone, there is tidings in his mouth. And he came apace and drew near. And the watchman saw another man running, and the watchman called unto the porter and said, behold, another man running alone. And the king said, he also bringeth tidings. And the watchman said, me thinketh the running of the foremost is like the running of Ahimaaz, the son of Zadok. And the king said, he is a good man, and cometh with good tidings. And Ahimaaz called and said unto the king, all is well. And he fell down to the earth upon his face before the king, and said, blessed be the Lord thy God, which hath delivered up the men that lifted up their hand against my lord the king. In other words, he's saying, God has delivered us from those men who were coming against the king. But this is what was foremost in David's mind. This was the thing that was right here. The first thought that came out of his mouth. And it just tears my heart up. And the king said, is the young man Absalom safe? And Ahimaaz answered, when Joab sent the king's servant and me thy servant, I saw a great tumult, but I knew not what it was. And the king said unto him, Turn aside and stand here. And he turned aside and stood still. And behold, Cushai came, and Cushai said, Tidings, my lord the king, for the Lord hath avenged thee this day of all them that rose up against thee. Again. And the king said unto Cushai, Is the young man Absalom safe? David was more concerned about that than anything else. Is my son safe? And Cushai answered, The enemies of my lord the king, and all that rise against thee to do thee hurt, be as that young man is. And the king was much moved, and went up to the chamber over the gate, and wept as he went. Thus he said, O my son Absalom, my son Absalom, would God I had died for thee. O Absalom, my son, my son. And riding right over into chapter 19, it was told Joab, Behold, the king weepeth and mourneth for Absalom. And then I want you to look at verse 2. And the victory that day was turned into mourning unto all the people. For the people heard say that day how the king was grieved for his son. A day that with any other war and with any other battle would have been, the king would have been leading the victory, just like he was when he came in with the ark. He would have been right out there leading a victory dance. But he couldn't do it this time. He couldn't do it. Because this victory, at a time when normally would have been rejoicing and shouting and dancing and celebrating, this victory was turned into mourning because it cost the life of his son. And I can't get away from that thought this morning. That day, victory that day was turned into mourning. I wrote years ago, and I hope I can find it, because I'm not sure I can remember exactly how it came to me. Let's see if it's still in my notes. Hopefully it is still there. There it is. Several years ago, I was teaching in a little school, and it was a very small district, and they played what they call six-man football. And our football players were fabulous. They really were. It was the only outlet that those young men in that little town had was football. Football and basketball, but they excelled at football. And they went many years they went undefeated. Well, one day we had a game on Friday night, and so Saturday morning I was listening to the radio and I was listening to the news, and or maybe I might have went to our Facebook page, I don't remember. But anyway, I saw the score from the game the night before. And I'm just going to make up a figurative number for you because I can't remember. I wish I wrote the score down, but it was something like in the vicinity of 85-5. Really? Well, when you did the history, and that wasn't unusual for them to win by a huge margin. But when you did the history of that team that they played, they didn't ever win any games. They weren't skilled in football. That was not their forte at all. And so it was a no-brainer for my little district to win that game. And the thought came to me when I heard that score and heard about that team. Victory is not sweet when you win over a weak enemy. You think about that. How can you rejoice and brag about your winning? It's like the bully. if your enemy is weak already, your victory is really not that sweet. David, their victory was turned to mourning because David's son perished for them to get the victory. Be careful when you're trying to get victory. Be careful if you're fighting for something. Think about what the outcome is going to be when you get the victory. I've saw homes divided. I've seen churches split. I have seen friends separated because somebody was willing and wanting the victory at all cost. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Victory, your victory may be turned into mourning. If the battle you win causes the death, whether it's physical or spiritual, of a friend. Too many times, we want to be able to say, I did it my way. I won. Listen to children when they play. I've listened to my grandsons. They're young. I beat him. I won. I won. While the other one walks away sad. And I know that's just the way children play. But you and I shouldn't be playing as children. We should be as mature Christians. And sometimes what should be mature Christians are still playing like children. I'm going to win. I don't care what it... Have you ever heard somebody say that? I have. I've heard people say, I'm going to have my way no matter what it costs. Be careful. The cost may be greater than what you anticipate. Think about what David said here. Here David had his armies led out to fight against Absalom to defend the throne at all cost. And yet when the victory came, David's throne was secure. He wept and he grieved and he said, "Oh, my son Absalom, my son Absalom, would God I had died for thee, O Absalom, my son, my son." Victory wasn't as sweet as what David had anticipated. At that moment in time, the throne wasn't worth it to David because it cost him the life of his son. Too many times, we are so determined to have our way that it doesn't matter. I've seen people and watched people that as far as they were concerned, you better not get in their way. I was looking for another scripture in here. So I'm trying to do two things at one time. And I can't find it. But people have said, I'm gonna win. I'm gonna win this battle. I don't care what it costs. And I don't care who gets in my way. Sometimes they feel like they're just going to plow everybody down. Whatever it takes, it's going to be my way. I've also heard people say it's my way or the highway. You know, it's just the way it's going to be. And victory may become mourning. I know churches where individuals have risen up and said, it will be my way. If you won't do it my way, we'll leave and we'll start another church. And they did. And it tore families apart. It tore homes apart, tore churches apart. It literally rent the kingdom because the church was divided. I'm going to make a statement right now that not everybody's going to agree with, but I believe it. Sometimes it's better to give in and save the kingdom. Now, I'm not talking about sin. I'm not saying we should allow sin to reign. I'm not saying we should condone things that are absolutely immoral, illegal, and unbiblical. I'm not saying that. But you know what? In the scheme of life, in the light of eternity, who cares what color the carpet is? In the light of eternity, who cares who the secretary-treasurer or the Sunday school teacher? Yes, I know. We don't say, well, it does. Yes, it matters. But sometimes it's not about people holding offices that are not biblically qualified. It's about, we don't want them in there because we don't like them. Or I want in there because I want that position. We get our way. But was it worth it in the end? When you lose a brother or you lose a sister? Oh, my heart grieves today over churches that are divided and split, over friends that have separated because they didn't get the victory. They didn't win the battle, so they left. Or they won the battle and somebody else left, and now they're divided. Remember, victory is not sweet when you win over a weak enemy. Remember, victory can be turned to mourning when you fight a brother or a sister. I know a church that split many years ago. They got ready to move the outhouse inside and build a bathroom. And some wanted the bathroom in the front of the church, and some wanted the bathroom in the back of the church. Well, yeah, I prefer the bathroom in the back of the church. I don't like walking through the front and going over the platform to go to the bathroom. But I tell you what, people didn't go to the bathroom as much then as they do when it's in the back of the church. I wasn't going to the church. I would go there and preach and visit. But because some of them couldn't have their way, they split. So I guess they got to go build them a church and put the bathroom where they wanted the bathroom. Was it worth it? For brother to be against brother, sister against sister, father against son? Was it worth it? David decided it wasn't worth it. Because he said, oh, I would that I had died instead of you, Absalom. What should have been victorious was turned into mourning. I just feel like this morning you and I need to do inventory on the battle that we're fighting. We're not always fighting the enemy. Sometimes we're fighting those that are of the same household. Is it worth it? In the scheme of eternity, is it that important that you win? To some people it is. To some people, if they can't come out the winner, then they're going to give up. There's a little pride there, isn't there? You know, Absalom actually died by his pride. Because Absalom's great pride was in his hair. And that's how he died. He rode under the limbs of a great oak tree, and his hair caught hold in the oak. And he hung there suspended between heaven and earth. And someone took darts and thrust them through his heart while he was hanging there. Be careful lest your pride and your determination to be the winner, your zeal to say, it's my way or the highway, your pride that we're going to do it my way or else. Beware lest that cause your victory to turn into mourning. If you and I are obedient to God, God brings the victory. Did you know I don't have to fight for victory? I know we use a lot of terminology in our Christian walk. I'm fighting for the victory. I'm fighting the devil for my victory. But do you know, in the reality of life, I love to preach on victory. And it's from a whole different perspective. We might talk about that next week. I don't know. I've talked about it before. We may talk about it again. But you don't have to fight for victory. All you have to do is be obedient. And with obedience, God brings the victory. It's not my way, it's His way. And that's what's important this morning. Not that I did it my way, but that I did it His way. If you and I will do it His way, when the victory comes, it won't have to be turned to mourning. We can really celebrate the victory. Think about that today, would you? Is the victory that you want so much and so strong worth the consequences to get it? Or will your victory, like David's, be turned to mourning? Well, that's my rambling thoughts for Thursday. We are in October now. It is October the 3rd. And I'm telling you, in a flash, Christmas is going to be here. Somebody says, don't skip Thanksgiving. Well, it's just going to be such a flash. Because October, it seems like, was a long time ago that we were saying, it's April, May. No, it wasn't a long time ago. It was just a bat of the eye. And now it's October. We're all fighting a battle. We are. Just be careful and question the battle that you're in. Is it a battle for God's will, or is it a battle for your will? If it's a battle of the wills, there's always that possibility that should you win the victory, your victory will be turned to mourning. I don't want that. I don't want victory over a weak enemy. I want victory in Jesus. Oh, victory in Jesus, my Savior forever. He sought me and he bought me with his redeeming blood. He loved me ere I knew him, and all my love is due him. He plunged me to victory beneath the crimson flood. I don't think I sang the end of that right. You know, that's the way I do things. Victory in Jesus is what we need, not victory in ourselves. God bless you. Have a thankful Thursday. The Lord willing, I'll be on here next Tuesday, and as far as I know, I'll be right here in Oklahoma, because next Wednesday, I'm scheduled to have an ablation and a pacemaker. And so, whisper a prayer, and I'll say something about it Tuesday. There's no need, I'm not, someone said, well, why didn't you tell us a long time ago? Well, it's not any need. It's not here yet. God can still change things, but that's the plan. So I should be here in Oklahoma next Tuesday, and I want to do it his way, not my way. Victory is not sweet when it's won over a weak enemy. Remember that. All right. God bless you. Thanks for listening to my ramblings this morning. But think about the battle. Think about, is it for him or is it for you? Is it for God's way or for your way? Are you fighting for God's will or your will? Have a blessed day.